Thinking about your first tour? Let's talk about how to do it right so you don't waste your time or your money. What's going on, everyone? So, we're gonna have four things to talk about, 4 points that I'm gonna cover about before you hitting the road. But first of all, should you even be touring, right? So, for starters, if you're an up and coming band, your local band right in your area, the number one thing you should first do is focus a lot of your time, energy, money, resources on developing a really good live show with really good songs. Write the best songs, and this may be obvious, right? And you may think your music is great, right? But for starters, you may got to make sure you have really good music and people are coming to your shows locally. So I've always said your local scene is the test scene, right? If you can't get 100, 150 people to come to your show locally, then you have bigger problems and you probably should not tour, right? So once you get to a point where you're doing 100, 150 locally, and that's bare minimum, right? You should get above that, and we can talk about in a future video how to get above that. But for starters, you should be selling 100, 150 tickets before you tour. Um, Other than that, there's so many other things to focus on, right? If you can't get that number above that, write more music, create more content. Um, I should make a video on my cookie cutter approach on how to develop an artist and build your music career. But let's say you're at that point, okay, you're doing decent at your local scene. How do you go out from that, right? And for starters, the old school way of touring is you would just tour the entire country and do it over and over again and hope every single time you return to a city that your ticket sales go up and your numbers have grown, right? And I feel like you can do that a lot smarter these days. You don't have to go on tour and do these long tours. There is a, and I should make another video about tour strategy on the different strategies, right? So I like just a brief overview. I like to build 5 cities at a time, right? So you can build your 5 markets, and then once you've built 5, you go to 10, right? And the thing is, change my mind on this a little bit, right? Because touring is not easy. Touring's hard, right? So what I like to figure out pretty early on, once you're at that point where you've done a couple of weekend warrior runs, so that can be your 4 to 10 or 5 to 10 markets you're focusing on. And there's a reason why you should focus on 5 to 10 to start off, and your main focus should be on selling 200 plus in 5 to 10 because that's what's going to get agents' attention. But if you are doing some weekend warrior stuff, right? Meaning you're playing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or maybe playing Thursday through Sunday, right? 3 or 4 shows in a weekend, and you do it every couple months. That's great, right? And it's pretty easy to tour 3, 4 days in a row. It gets a little harder when you go on a 2 week tour. It gets a lot harder when you go on a 3 week tour, and even harder when you go on a 4 week tour, right? But because we want to tour smart, I would wait to a point where you sell your 150 to 200 plus tickets, 150 to 200, right? Plus tickets in your local market. Then do a few weekend warrior runs, develop other markets that can help bring you revenue to when you do a 3 week tour, that you can play those strong markets in your tour to make sure you have enough money to get through the other markets, which probably are not going to be as good, right? And the number one reason is to build reps and touring experience to maybe go on a longer tour. Now, I wouldn't encourage to do that constantly. I would probably do a 3 week tour, go back home, focus on writing good music, better music, focus on creating more content, better content, and then maybe you go back out again, right? Or you play your strongest markets first, revisit those 3, 4 months later, and then another 3, 4 months after that. So 8 months later, you go back on your 3 week tour until you get to a point where you can now stay on tour and play as many shows as you can. But you got to get those reps in early and touring experience while you're still dreaming that you want to do this full time one day, because there's one of the things that agents look for these days. I always say if you can sell 200 plus tickets in 8 to 10 different cities and you can show a history of touring experience, that's very attractive to agents, right? Another thing that's attractive to agents is artists that have viral moments, right? So if you are a TikTok star, a YouTube star, or whatever, and you had a viral moment or a few viral moments where you have millions of views and it's translating to Spotify and things like that, but you may have never toured, agents are signing those artists, and a lot of them crumble on tour. Because again, touring is not easy, right? It's fun, especially when you go on small weekend warrior runs. It's fun, but being on the road 3 weeks, it's a little harder. It's nothing yet, right? If you're on a tour for 3 weeks, it gets much harder than doing a weekend warrior run. But 3 weeks is probably the max you should do at a small scale. Right, your first brand new band within the last 5 years, you're still developing, still figuring this industry out. The main reason I wouldn't go beyond 3 weeks is just because of financial reason, right? Kind of just wasting your time when you can focus that time on better things like better music, better content, better marketing strategies, right? To really develop yourself as an artist. But you got to see if you're cut out for it. And 3 weeks is just enough time to see if you're cut out for it. And really, if you're not, if 3 weeks is maybe your max, you can survive. You can build a full time career doing 2 3 week tours at a time, right? And just going to different areas of the country and just touring. That's good, right? You're good there if you can do that. Um, when it gets really hard is when you're doing 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks, 6 months, or a year long tours. But that's you're not going to be doing that until you're really doing this full time anyway. So in the developing starting level, 3 weeks, if you can build your way up to that, you can get through it a couple times, survive, y'all haven't killed each other, don't hate each other afterwards, then you're cut out for it, right? So build the reps, get the touring experience. And it helps you work out a lot of things, right? It helps you out to see if there's bad chemistry within the band. It helps you out to figure out how to be around your band constantly. You work out kinks on playing live and playing your set list. You can work through gear issues, issues with your vehicle on the road, how to deal with that, right? So get the reps for number one. And then as you're planning that first tour, that first 2 week, 3 week tour, you want to plan it 4 to 6 months in advance. Timing is everything, right? So don't rush the process. It's going to take you longer to book your first tour for number one, because there's so many artists touring these days, and so many, it's not just music that's touring, it's comedy, it's podcasters, YouTubers, TikTokers, right? There's so many more properties out there that are touring, and you want to be able to plan far enough in advance. The shorter you plan your tour out, the less money you're most likely going to make, right? So you want to plan it far enough out. So ideally 4 to 6 months. I prefer in a 6 months time range, because it's going to take you 1 to 2 months to book it, just to get the holds, get the responses, right? Figure out what venues to play. But bare minimum 4 months, because it's going to take you about 1 to 2 months to book your first tour, because you can't email and pester the venues every single day, right? When you email a venue, reach out to a venue, you're going to have to wait a few days, because they get a pile of emails every single day, and they're going to have to go through that, and they're going to prioritize the emails from the bigger agencies and the bigger bands, the big things that they know they're going to make money on, versus the things they're going to have to take risks on, the things they've never heard of before, right? So be realistic about that. And then once you go on sale, ideally you want to have 90 to 120 days to be on sale, to give fans enough time to buy tickets, but also to find who your fans are, right? To create that awareness in that scene to find your fans. Now, once you're touring, it's probably be a longer video, but you want to tour smart in the markets that you select, right? The cities that you select to tour. Just a quick overview should be based on their close drives to where you're based out of, that you have gone to college there and you still have friends there, you have family there, your social media data is pointing to that area, that you have fans that are listening there, watching, right, engaging with your content on TikTok and Instagram and so on, whatever social media platform you're using in the future. So those are some ways you pick out which areas to tour in, and this probably should be more of a deep dive on selecting your correct cities, right? And then the next thing is have a marketing budget. Do not tour without a marketing budget. So that's second requirement, right? After you have your 150 to 200 ticket sales and you've done Weekend Warrior runs in your area, do not go out until you have a marketing budget. And ideally, it's $300 to $500 per city. Just remember, being an artist, is a business. You are in a business that you're building. No business has ever built themselves without a marketing budget. If you look at some of the really successful artists out there they're upcoming, that seem like overnight successes, people like Jelly Roll, people like 502s, and so many others, they've had really strong marketing budgets for all their shows from the start, right? From the beginning of their careers, they spend real money on their shows. So 300 to 500 is minimum where you should be in. I mean, if you can more, right? I mean, I've done shows with Joe Bonamassa, and the amount of money, and early in his career, right, when he first started out, and the amount of money they spent on marketing was insane. It was nuts. It almost felt like they made no money on their first couple of tours because of how much they spent on marketing, right? So spend money on marketing, have a marketing budget, learn how to do it right. I always joke that there's advertisers and marketers. Advertisers spend the marketing dollars. Marketers make money, right? They know how to take that marketing money and turn it into ticket sales, turn it into music sales, turn it into merch sales, right? So learn how to do marketing right. Don't just half-ass it by pressing the boost button or going through the Meta back platform and only using the or the Advantage Plus features, right? Learn how to really build ads. That's a skill artists should have, or outsource to someone that is in the music industry that has a passion for marketing, right? Find a digital marketing agency that's focused on music industry, but also focused on helping convert those marketing dollars to dollars in your pocket, right? It may not be a one-to-one in the beginning. It may not be for every dollar you spend, you get a dollar. It might be you get a couple of pennies to every dollar, but eventually it's going to grow, and eventually $1 should turn into $1.25, $1.50, right? So now your marketing dollars become profitable. So keep in mind it's an investment. It's going to take time. It's going to take investing into your show, into your music, into your content, and into your marketing. So if this is something you want to do long term, be focused on long-term strategy, be forward thinking, long-term thinking, and just tour smart. Be smart about the content you put out there, keep fans engaged, learn some marketing skills. Bottom line, touring is a long game, right? It's not a small short-term game. So start small, plan ahead, market yourself properly, and that's all I got. So if you're planning your first tour, or you planning tours smarter, drop a comment below. Let me know what's your biggest challenge. What are some of your biggest successes? Do you have any advice for other artists that are out there touring? Let's talk about it. So thank you all for watching. Until next time, spread love, positivity, and kindness in the world. Peace, my friends.